7, 8.
Enemy armor approaching dead ahead. Maintain target lock. Range 500.
Look at them trying to hide. They won't last 5 minutes against the Africa course. Pathetic. Over there! Push forward to the objective!
May 21st, 1940. 14:30 hours. 2 kilometers west of Arras, northern France. The earth trembles. Hauptmann Klaus Becker feels it through the hull of his Panzer III, a rhythmic, mechanical thunder that announces the arrival of Germany's armored fist. Through the cupola, he watches his company spread across the French countryside in a perfect wedge. 23 Panzers, churning through wheat fields that nobody bothered to harvest. Black smoke rises from a dozen villages on the horizon. For 11 days, nothing has stopped them. Poland fell in 3 weeks. France is collapsing in real time. The Blitzkrieg isn't just a tactic anymore. It's a force of nature. Until today. Halt. Enemy tanks ahead. Becker raises his binoculars. There. Moving shapes emerging from the tree line 300 meters distant. Squat. Ungainly. He counts 8. British tanks, advancing at what seems like a walking pace. Matilda's his gunner mutters with audible contempt. The English brought their toys. Laughter ripples through the intercom. They have no idea what's about to happen. The intelligence briefs were clear. Matilda I, armed with nothing but a machine gun. Matilda II, slow as a funeral procession, designed to crawl behind infantry at 8 miles per hour. Relics from the last war, museum pieces. All around Becker, other panzer commanders are making the same calculation. These aren't the troublesome French Char B1 South. These are infantry tanks, built for trench warfare, not modern combat. Range 300 meters. Becker orders, let's send them home. The 37 millimeters gun barks. The shell streaks across the field, strikes the lead Matilda square on the turret, and sparks off into the sky. Becker blinks what? Direct hit. No penetration. Across the radio net, other crews report the same. Round after round, slamming into British armor. Every single one ricocheting, glancing off, leaving nothing but scorch marks. The Matildas don't even slow down. They keep coming, turrets traversing with mechanical precision. Armor piercing. Load. Armor piercing. The gun fires again. Perfect shot. Center mass, and the round bounces like a stone skipping on water. The British tank's gun flashes. Something screams, past. Becker's cupola. Behind him, Leuenvogel's Panzer III erupts in flame, ammunition cooking off in a volcanic explosion. The laughter has stopped. All around him, the cream of the Wehrmacht's Panzer forces, units that broke Poland, that shattered the Magina line, are retreating from 8 British tanks, moving at 8 miles per hour. 20 minutes earlier, Major John King had climbed into his Matilda to certain he was about to die. The briefing was chaos. 74 tanks total. No air support. Minimal artillery. Orders to disrupt German communications. Disrupt, as if you could disrupt an entire Panzer division. But now, watching German tanks scatter like startled rabbits, King allows himself something he hasn't felt in 3 weeks. Hope. Target. Panzer. 3. 3 o'clock. His gunner, Sergeant Mills, fires. The 2-pounder punches clean through the German tank's side armor. Smoke pours from the hatches. Hit. Moving to next target, the Matilda shudders forward at its glacial 11 miles per hour. King has stopped being frustrated by the speed. Because when a German Pak-36 sent a tank gun fires 3 times at point-blank range and all 3 shells ricochet skyward, speed doesn't matter. Armor matters. Through his cupola, King watches the impossible unfold. German infantry running. Not retreating in order, but running, abandoning equipment. And the Panzers that terrorized Europe are reversing at full speed, desperately trying to open range. 2 Kings left, Lieutenant Carver's Matilda plows straight through a German roadblock, literally crushing the anti-tank gun beneath its tracks. Christ, his driver breathes. We're winning. King wants to believe it. For 200 meters? 300? It looks like victory. Then he hears the word that changes everything. Acting, Flak Compagnie. Nachborn, Flak. The 88mm anti-aircraft gun. Powerful enough to punch through any armor the British have. Through the vision block, Keen see massive prime movers racing down the road from Arras, towing long-barreled guns. Not retreating. Advancing. And behind them, a figure even at this distance is recognizable by the way junior officers snap to attention. Rommel himself. The first 88 fires, the sound is different. Not the petulant crack of 37mm guns. This is a roar. Deep, brutal, tearing the air apart. Lieutenant Carver's Matilda simply disintegrates. The 88mm round punches clean through armor that stopped everything else. The turret flips backward into the wheat. Reverse. Reverse now. But 11 tons doesn't reverse quickly. Another 88 fires. Another Matilda dies. The radio erupts in chaos. Can't penetrate. They've got it. Victor 3 is down. Fallback. Then Captain Headley's voice cuts through. Parade ground gone. All victors, advance. Close the range and engage. For a moment, King thinks he's misheard. Advance into 88mm fire, and tanks that crawl. But Headley is right. Retreating means death. The only chance is closing the distance, getting among the guns where British infantry can help. So King gives the order that requires more courage than anything in his life. Driver, advance. Around him, the surviving Matildas do the same. A ragged line of steel crawling toward guns that can kill them at leisure. At walking pace, into hell. Hauptmann Werner Schrader kneels beside his 88mm gun and watches. Something he'll never forget. They're still coming. His crew just destroyed 3 British tanks in 90 seconds. Clean kills. Turrets blown off. And the British are still advancing. Not maneuvering. Just crawling forward like they're on parade. Reload. Faster. His loader is shaking so badly he nearly drops the shell. They're used to shooting aircraft, not point-blank murder. Range 500 meters. Fire. The gun bucks. The shell crosses the distance in a fraction of a second. Miss. The British tank hit a slight rise at exactly the wrong moment, and now it's firing back. A 2-pounder round shrieks past, slams into the truck behind them. The loader screams. Shrapnel in his shoulder, but keeps loading. Fire. This time the shell strikes true. Dead center. The armor holds for a microsecond. Then the round punches through. The Matilda keeps coming. 5 more meters. 10. The driver must be dead, but momentum carries it forward until it finally grinds to a halt. 15 meters away. Jesus Christ, someone whispers. 2 stragglers right, another 88 fires, and a Matilda finally brews up properly. Flames, shooting 20 feet high. But 2 more British tanks are already past the burning wreck. German infantry are breaking, running, because nothing prepared them for tanks that don't stop. Then Schrader sees him, Rommel. Standing, in full view of British guns, directing fire like a traffic cop. A Matilda's machine gun opens up, tracers walking toward him. Rommel doesn't flinch, just keeps pointing, keeps shouting, and somehow, his presence steadies the line. Infantry stop running. More Panzers, arrive, engaging from flanks with 88 support. The British attack finally stalls. The remaining Matildas, maybe 6, still mobile, begin reversing. Slowly. Still firing, but retreating through the smoke and wreckage of their dead. Around Schur, their German soldiers are cheering, celebrating. He doesn't join them. Because he's counting. At least 15 Matildas destroyed. And how many took multiple 88mm hits before dying? 74 tanks. The prisoners will say later. That's all there were. 74 tanks just brought the entire German drive to the Channel to a shuddering halt. Schrader looks at his shaking crew, at the burning wrecks scattered across the field. So his gunner asks quietly, What were those things? Schrader has no answer, because the tanks in the intelligence reports marked obsolete, no threat. Those don't exist. These tanks were something else entirely. May 21st, 1940. 18:45 hours. 7th Panzer Division headquarters. Rommel stands over a map table, and for the first time since crossing into France, his hands are not steady. Read it again, he orders. 26 tanks destroyed or disabled. 450 casualties. Hauptmann Bonmetsk killed. Rothenburg's battalion reports 60% losses. The numbers hang like smoke. 450 casualties in an afternoon against an enemy that's been retreating for 11 days. Rothenburg himself stands with his arm in a sling, face gray. Sir, the intelligence briefings were inadequate. We were told these tanks were obsolete. No one mentioned they were immune to our guns. The Pak-36 destroyed every tank we faced. Polish, French. It bounced off these Rothenburg snaps at 50 meters. Perfect shots. Do you understand what that does to men? Do what your weapons fail. Rommel studies the map. Red markers show British attack. Blue markers show German retreat. The line is jagged, chaotic. Nothing like the clean arrows that characterized every battle before. How many British tanks? 70 to 80, sir. The Matilda II has 78mm of frontal armor. Our intelligence said 40, nearly double. Rommel's finger traces the attack route. They had no air support, no artillery, minimal infantry, and they nearly broke us. No one contradicts him, because it's true. If the British had more tanks, proper support, if they'd exploited the breakthrough, the 88 stopped them. Rothenburg offers anti-aircraft guns. Rommel's voice is flat, towed by trucks, deployed in the open. That's now our answer to British armor. Silence. Outside, recovery crews drag damaged Panzers past. A Panzer III, with its turret blown clean off. Another with its front caved in where Matilda drove over it. How many Matilda I's does the BEF possess? Approximately 120, sir. We faced 50 this afternoon. 50 obsolete tanks nearly destroyed a Panzer division. What happens when we face all 100? What happens when the British figure out what they have? An office of ventures. The British are retreating, sir. The French are collapsing. We're winning. Are we? Rommel rounds on him? Explain how we're winning when we cannot guarantee defeating enemy armor. How do we continue to Dunkirk, to Calais, when a handful of tanks can halt our entire advance? An aide enters. Sir, Field Marshal von Rundstedt, requesting situation report, and tomorrow's advance schedule. Every officer looks at Rommel. The blitzkrieg depends on speed, on momentum. Stopping violates every principle of mobile warfare. But advancing means risking another Arras. Another afternoon watching invincible Panzers burn. Rommel is silent for a long moment. Outside, the sun sets over France. 300,000 British and French troops are trapped around Dunkirk. Victory is within reach. But for the first time, Rommel is afraid. Del von Rundstedt pauses. 7th Panzer requires 24 hours to regroup. We resume offensive operations, May 23rd. A day's delay. Maybe two. 2 days for the British to reach Dunkirk. 2 days to evacuate. Sir, his operations officer says carefully, that'll reach the Führer himself. Then tell him the truth. Tell him we encountered armor we cannot defeat. Tell him if we continue blindly and face massed British tanks, We risk losing the entire spearhead. The aide leaves to encode the message. Rommel returns to the window, watching darkness fall. Somewhere out there, British tank crews are retreating, probably thinking they failed. They have no idea. No idea. They just bought their entire army 2 more days. No idea the shock is rippling through German high command like an earthquake. No idea that tomorrow Adolf Hitler will issue a halt order. Because of 74 tanks. 74 obsolete British tanks that changed everything. May 24th, 1940. Führer headquarters, Germany. Adolf Hitler stands before the map of France. And for once, he is listening. Generaloberst von Rundstedt speaks. The British possess armor. We cannot reliably engage with standard weapons. The Matilda II has proven immune to our Pak 36 guns. Had they committed full strength, coordinated with French forces, he leaves the implication hanging. Rommel destroyed them, Hitler says. Eventually, at considerable cost, had the British committed all their armor. Von Rundstedt shakes his head. Main 4. If we drive our Panzers into prepared positions at Dunkirk, with British heavy tanks, naval guns, we could lose the divisions that won this campaign. Hitler turns from the map. He sees it in their faces. The reports from Arras have circulated. Everyone knows the Wehrmacht bled against 74 British tanks. Knows that luck, not superiority, saved them. Knows the Blitzkrieg came within a hair's breadth of disaster. The Luftwaffe can destroy Dunkirk from the air. Hitler Oskis. He, Rin personally, Warantisit, Meina Hitler passes. 3 steps, 1 way, 3 back. The ground at Dunkirk. Describe Italiano Flanders Marsh, Maine, canals, ditches, reclaimed land. Poor terrain for armor. Vehicles forced onto roads, easily blocked. So our tanks would be channeled into killing grounds, where British heavy tanks could engage from prepared positions. It is impossible. Meinen Hitler stops. Von Rundstedt. Professional assessment. Can we take Dunkirk with armor without unacceptable losses? This is the moment to know, Maine. I cannot guarantee it. The words fall like stones. The terrain favors defense. The British have naval support. They've demonstrated at Arras. They possess tanks that destroy ours at close range. If we commit our Panzers to urban assault through marshland. He shakes his head. We risk the forces we need for conquering the rest of France, for invading Britain. Hitler is silent. Outside, Germany celebrates. Inside, the men running the war know better. Know that every Panzer lost at Dunkirk is one they won't have later. Know the margin between victory and disaster is reasonable. How long until infantry and artillery reach Dunkirk? 48 to 72 hours. Maine. Hitler stares at the map. 400,000 enemy troops. Trapped. It should be the final victory, but 74 British tanks. Whisper. Caution. Issue the halt order. The room freezes. The Panzer divisions will hold their advance, consolidate along the AA Canal. The Luftwaffe will destroy the enemy. Once infantry arrives, we assault with combined arms. They've just witnessed the impossible. Adolf Hitler, the gambler, choosing caution, choosing to let a trapped army escape rather than risk his Panzers. And in that choice, born from the shock of Arras, the war shifts. Because over the next 9 days, 338,226 Allied soldiers will escape. We'll live to fight another day. We'll return to France 4 years later. All because of a halt order. All because 74 tanks taught the Wehrmacht to fear. June 4th, 1940. House of Commons, London. Winston Churchill's voice echoes. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall never surrender. In the gallery, Colonel Clark holds the after-action report from Arras. 74 tanks, 400 enemy casualties. A Panzer division halted, and 3 days later, German armor mysteriously stopped advancing. Clark has read the German reports, seen the fear, watched radio intercepts change from pursuit to caution. The Germans stopped because they were afraid. Afraid of more Matildas, More counterattacks. 74 tanks bought 3 days. 3 days saved an army. September 1942. North Africa. Rommel lowers his binoculars at Alam El Halfa. British tanks. Wait, hold down. Grants, Shermans, Crusaders. Fighting concentrated, dug in, supported. Fighting the way they should have at Arras. The way they would have if they'd understood what they had. He thinks about Matildas that wouldn't die. About 88mm guns deployed in desperation. About the halt order. If we'd taken Dunkirk, would Britain have surrendered? The questions are pointless. History doesn't offer do-overs. We're not continuing. Rommel says quietly. Order withdrawal. Another halt. The pattern of the war. The lessons of Arras repeated across continents. May 8th, Jadal signs the unconditional surrender. In the Ruble of the Reich, Allied officers find preserved documents, after-action reports, intelligence assessments about Arras, about 74 British tanks, about the shock that rippled through German high command. Present day. Bovington Tank Museum, England. The Matilda II sits in stillness. Olive drab paint. White star on turret. A placard explains, despite slow speed and light armament, nearly impregnable to German anti-tank guns in 1940-41. An elderly veteran stands before it, old enough to have been there, to have crewed these machines when they weren't museum pieces but instruments of survival. He stands for a long time, remembering when German shells bounced off, when impossible odds became merely terrible, when obsolete tanks proved that stubbornness and steel matter more than speed. When 74 tanks held the line, he touches the glacis plate, fingertips against cold steel, and walks away. The tank remains, silent, motionless. A monument to the battle that wasn't supposed to matter, to the tanks that weren't supposed to work, to the men who weren't supposed to survive, but did. And in surviving, in holding, and buying 3 precious days with blood and courage, and 78mm of hardened armor, changed everything. If you enjoyed this untold story from World War II, subscribe for more tales of courage, fear, and the moments that shaped history.